Vanessa. You guys probably know me or have met me or not. If this is your first time seeing me, then hi. I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. You know, I started gardening. Well, I'm from Florida, moved to the DMV area, and I did a few little things in Florida. And now that I look back, I should have probably taken advantage of the climate in Florida and done more gardening there. But I've always kind of been that pioneer woman esque type of person. The baking and the canning and all that kind of stuff, back to basics, is definitely a theme that I take on wholeheartedly. I moved to the DMV and I started to garden about 4 years ago. When I first started, it was just about kind of something to do. I suffer from anxiety, and for me, being outside in the garden was a healing place for me. It was a place that, the one place I could sort of be in control or feel or be tricked to think I was in control, because if you are gardening, you know that a lot of things are out of your control. But my healing was that in that learning to accept the things that were outside of my control, having a quiet place, having a place where I could be busy and be with my thoughts. And it became almost like an obsession to me. And at the plus side, I was able to give my friends and family nutritious things where we knew where it was coming from, we knew where it was sourced, and my love of that just grew from there. I work in the community. I work with Montgomery County Food Council and different initiatives to bring an end to food insecurity in our county. That's very much a mission of mine. I feel like my goal in life is to end food insecurity, especially in my local neighborhood. So this is one of the ways that I do it. I love teaching. Ask me any questions. I encourage you to put all of your questions in the chat and I will get to them at the end. And if you want, I'm always available via, FaceTime or Facebook Live. Some other people have done it for me to look at your garden and give custom advice. So I'm here for that too. All right, so into the meat of the matter, right? The fall garden is for second chances. And that's actually incorrect, right? It's actually for third chances, because most places have 3 seasons. You have your spring, your summer, and then your fall. So spring, everybody is out there and just can't wait for the frost to go away, can't wait to get their hands in the dirt and for it to just stop being cold. And we get so angry when climate change and global warming get in the way. I think our last frost was like deep into May where I am. I'm in zone 7B. So we had spring, and that's kind of, you can't do much, right? You can only kind of do things that can stand the change in weather, which we'll get into later. And then summer is when we really get into our groove, right? We start to see the fruits of our labor, so to speak. You get to see, everything that you planted when it was cold outside really start to bear fruit, albeit slow. You get to really get into the groove of things. Summer is great, minus the flies. I cannot stand the flies, but it's an exciting time. And then we think it's over, right? When our tomatoes start to die back and things stop producing fruit and things start to go to seed, we pack it up. But there's another great opportunity. There's another season there that is not just for, pumpkins. There's a whole another gardening season where you can continue to, and it's probably the most important season, provide for your family. Fall is the season not only for second and third chances, depending on where you started, but it's also that ideal time where if you are storing food for the winter, you wouldn't want to necessarily store a summer crop unless you were doing some type of preservation method like canning or dehydrating. Things like onions and carrots and potatoes, they have a lot longer chance of holding up through the winter if they are harvested in the fall. So, fall garden basics. I put a poll in the webinar just to get to know where we are, right? So, the first poll is, do you know your gardening zone? The garden zone, I believe it goes from 1 to 13, and it's usually A, B, or A, B, and C. Let me know if you know your gardening zone. I'm going to drop that there. Okay. So knowing your gardening zone is so important because that's where everything starts, right? If you're in Florida, you probably have a longer growing season. That tells you, and your growing season is how many days you have to plant, success, and to harvest your garden from your last frost date to your first frost date. That determines uh, your gardening kind of timeline. So knowing your gardening zone is probably going to be the first step. I am in 7B, so I'm going to talk about the general zone 7 plants. Obviously, New York or Connecticut is probably not going to be able to grow tomatoes into October and November, whereas some of the southern gardening zones, like South Florida, is going to be able to do so. And it's going to tell you a lot about which plants to grow. The hardiness of the plant speaks to the weather. If it's a cool weather crop. And my last question for right now is, did you have a spring garden? That question is important because this is a great time. Let me just start by saying this is a great time for you to start if you've not started at all. Most people think that, is it too late for this? It's probably too late. I'll just catch it next year. No, fall is a season. Use the season to get started, to learn. It will equip you for when you're bored in the winter to reevaluate so that you can get it right back again in spring. Okay, so if you didn't have a spring garden, now's a great time to start. If you did have a spring garden, then you will definitely be able to benefit from the rest of this webinar. So my motto with the fall garden, or the the last ditch effort garden, is hindsight is 2020. One of the things that's so great is that you have the benefit of hindsight with a garden. You don't have that unless you've been gardening for years with a spring garden. The spring garden is the first of the year. And quite frankly, every year is different. I mean, we all see what 2020 has been like, right? This is a year like no other. Each gardening season presents different things. Pollen indexes, change. We have different pests every year. This year, everyone suffered from squash borers, vine borers. But with that fall garden, hindsight is truly 2020. It is taking a look back and seeing what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what you didn't like. What were your wins and what were your learns? We're not going to call them fails. We're not going to call them catastrophes. I've had a few catastrophes. We are going to call them lessons, right? So let's take a look back. If you look back at your summer and your spring garden, what did you grow? What were all the things that you grew? And not everybody keeps a record. Not everyone keeps a journal. But what I found is I take a lot of pictures. And the great part about having an iPhone, I'm not sure about what other phones do, but the great part about having an iPhone is it tells you the date and the time, and you can arrange it in date order to see the stages of your garden. So even if you don't keep an actual written journal, a journal made up of photography is just as good. And you can keep a note on your phone as well when you're out there. Got to do this next time. This didn't work out this time. Keep keep notes. I encourage you to keep notes. It's a fabulous record of your progress, and things that you can do better next time, or things that went really well that you'd like to replicate. Okay, so what went well? Did did you change where something was and it thrived in that area, but when you put it, in another area, it didn't do well? Did you put it in a pot and it thrived, but the other one in the ground didn't do well? Or did it not thrive in a pot? And perhaps maybe next time you want to put it in the ground. Some things just don't do well in pots. Did you start too late? Did you something indoors when you should have direct sowed it? So those are the things you want to sit back and evaluate. And I promise that although we're so to just the days are passing and you want to just start with your fall garden, taking this time to really just evaluate where you've been and taking that hindsight will make you a much better gardener, I promise. So what lessons did you learn? Did you stalk your plants? I say that because new gardeners and anxious, impatient gardeners, that's me, we, especially being home and quarantine, what else is there to do but to stalk your plants? I literally go out there 3 times a day, or else I did, and think that something was going to change. And then I thought something was a little dry, so I watered it. Did you water too much? Did you not mulch and you had a problem with weeds? Did you use a mulch that you didn't like? My problem this year, I didn't mark anything, so now I'm clueless and have to wait for it to fruit to figure out what it is. Was it a hit? Did your family like it? Or did you harvest it and it sat on the counter until it went bad and you put it in the compost pile? Did you bring it in and you ate it all the time? Did you not know what to do with it? Did you plant some mystery thing that you had no idea how to cook? Would you rather be prepared? What was a hit with you? What was a hit with your family? Do the things that worked. Get rid of the things that didn't work. Simple. And reconnect with your why. Gardening is a lot of work. Gardening is a lot of work, and gardening is expensive on the onset. If you're not constantly connecting with why you're doing this, you are going to lose focus, lose patience, and just lose interest, and you're gonna just let it go to waste. It is far too expensive to start this and time consuming for you to fall off. Reconnect with your why. And write it down. I encourage you, because that's what's going to get you out there when the mosquitoes are attacking you. You want to just watch your TV show, but you have to go water the garden, and that takes forever. You want to do, this is a commitment, so you want to reconnect to your why. My why is I want to know where my food is coming from. I want to take back that power. I want to provide my kids with healthy, nutritious options that will keep them focused in school. Food has been used to target my community for far too long, and that is one piece I feel like I can take back. So that is my why, and I have to constantly reconnect with it when I have to go out there and do all the madness, or when the deers come and eat everything. Reconnect with your why. So